Tabbi Hour Podcast, take one. I feel like I'm in F1 now.
All right, so Cuzzin.
Hey.
Tabbi Hour Podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to it, man.
Man, I feel like I'm on like the Howard Stern show. This is awesome.
We're excited to have you. So, I mean, we have to start the story with, I'm getting my hair cut, and your wife is like, hey, are you on Tabbi Hour Podcast? Like, what?
I know, I think she said that she was like first top 10 on YouTube followers.
Yeah, she was like number 5 probably.
Yeah, hopefully number 1.
Yeah.
Which would have been like a long time ago, I think. Like
I think
3
I
months?
was probably the first subscriber. We can give her number 2 though.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, so she told me about it and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I love to talk. I love to tell a story. I think every great brand has a great story, so, here we are.
Yeah. So you are the brewmaster and brilliant mind behind Magnetic South. Let's start with kind of where are you from, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, man. So originally from Salem, New Hampshire, this little town just north of Boston. Before all the traffic and everything, we used to be able to get into Boston in like 20 minutes. That's kind of changed now. So I still got family up there, split household, grew up splitting my time between New Hampshire and Washington, D.C. So it was kind of like the woods meets the city. Used to enjoy spending my summers in D.C., spent 3 months there, it was nice, right? Kind of get to see the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So moved down here 2009-ish. Right, so graduated high school 2006, went to college at Johnson & Wales University for business management and technology. They kicked me out of school. Funny story is you got to live on campus for a year. And, we just didn't like the dorm situation. So a group of 13 of us moved out, rented a house, this little 7-bedroom house. Started throwing parties.
So I was going to say that's a party house.
Oh, I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think they had fraternities in Providence, Rhode Island, but.
You were the first.
Oh, yeah. And then there was kids moved down the street, saw what we did.
Yeah.
They just didn't enjoy it. So they got kicked out, stuck around there for a couple of years. Yeah, and then moved down here. So, I have some family in Spartanburg. So when I first moved down here, I moved up there and just tried to figure out my life, right, which – to be 21 and trying to figure out your life is always a hard thing.
It's normal, but it's hard.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, like spending my summers in D.C. with my dad as a kid. He brewed beer. He was, I would say as avid as you could be, in the 80s and 90s. It was pretty hard back then to, get raw material, like malt extracts and hops and yeast. And what you could get, the options were very limited. So I have a book of all his old homebrew recipes, and it's like, what's Australian malt? Like, there's just Australian malt extract. That's all he could get. So he started messing around with things like water. He'd go buy different jugs of water and, just try to see if he could make his beer better or whatever.
Well,
so
water has a big deal to do with it. I mean,
it's 70% water.
Yes, whiskeys and it's all focused on the water.
And we're lucky where we live. We get the runoff from the Blue Ridge. We have very terrific water here. But yeah, so kid, summer times, hanging out, dad brewing beer. I wasn't really old enough to brew, right? I'm like 10, 12. So we used to make root beer.
Okay.
Which is the first time I realized how much sugar actually goes in soda. I mean, there's a lot of sugar, especially root beer, which was great because, just get all jacked up on sugar. But so then moved down here 2009. Before that, I'd homebrewed a couple times, like helped friends, bought a Mr. Beer kit, it all turned out horrible. But, it's just like I drank it. You drank it, right? Because it's like, oh, it has alcohol. Well, actually, I don't know if I had alcohol because I had no testing equipment. It was like pour A and B into a jug and boil it and put it in this thing, I mean,
but did you get a buzz?
Man, I don't know. That was a long time ago. So,
that's the only way you would know, right?
I mean, I'm sure we were drinking like vodka and it was probably like the worst liquor you could buy at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, didn't really give up on it, but just kind of stopped, right? Because it was like, oh, well, this isn't good. You know, moved down here, got my own place, decided to like give it a try again, right? My dad moved to Costa Rica, gave me a lot of his old stuff, all his old equipment that he had, which, you know, to be a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, like that's a big investment, you know, dollar-wise. You know, at the time I was working third shift at Sam's Club, stocking the shelf. Don't be laughing at me now. You know, so it was, you know, he gave me all that stuff and it was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Like, okay, I'm going to get back into it. Well, I slowly realized it was hard for me to get ingredients, right? The easy thing was I could order it all online. But yeah, so it's just like any hobby you pick up where you got to order something online. Is you order everything and then it shows up in 5 to 14 days. And you're like,
What year is this for reference?
oh, man. 9, 10, somewhere in there, right? Like, I mean, shortly after I moved down here, maybe 12. I don't know. Years are hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always get asked how old I am. And I'm like, I don't know. I was born in 88. You tell me.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
you know. So Thomas Creek used to have a homebrew shop. So I started going there and buying some of my supplies, and I'm not really like in it, right? They got beer, so I can go get a beer, buy some ingredients. Just on and off. It was a far drive, right? I'm living in Boiling Springs. I'm driving an hour to do this hobby that's expensive, right?
Yeah.
Still working third shift at Sam's Club. So it was just kind of a weird time, right? I was on and off brewing. My buddy Farmer, who lives out in Powdersville, was starting a distillery called 6 and 20. So I was coming down here a lot more, right, during these times. I'd come down, I'd stay with him, help him work the weekend. He actually hosted at 6 and 20 this homebrew competition. And this is probably 6 years ago. I don't know. Yeah, 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere in there.
Okay. They
host this homebrew competition. And he invites me to come. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take the night off of work. I'll come down. So they actually asked me to judge it, right? I have no idea what I'm doing, right?
But you can drink beer.
Oh, I can drink beer.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how to judge it professionally. So, like, Keston, that part owner of Carolina Barnhouse, I remember he was there, right? So I think partnered with him, sat with him, right? Cracking jokes the whole time, drinking these beers, judging these beers. And so like got in kind of with these guys, right? Oh, it's like a homebrew club. Like this is kind of what I've been searching for down here. So one of the guys that was there that put the competition on, his name was Ken Anderson. He owned Grape and Grains over off Augusta Road at the time. So it was a little homebrew shop. He also had a little winery there, a little small brew house. So I started hanging out with those guys too, right? So he would do like happy hour on Thursdays. Meantime, I'm still in Spartanburg brewing. We have a little brew club up there, And
you're just kind of in your garage making beer, hanging out with your
front
buddies.
porch, back porch,
Okay.
So up in Spartanburg, we started a little brew club. It's called Spartanburg Brew Club. And we had like Jonathan Duke, Josh Dodson, like some of these guys who are now have their own places.
Yep.
So, we're all just like these kids hanging out, brewing the best beer that we can with what we got, right? Entering competitions, talking shit to each other, like, oh, ours is better, yours is, it's just a bunch of 20-something-year-olds brewing beer. Mine's the best, yours is the best.
So kind of putting it in perspective for the time frame, I feel like craft beer has exploded in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. So
there was a different like mindset towards craft beer at the time.
Yeah. So this is like RJ Rockers in Spartanburg, right? Booming. Thomas Creek, booming, heavy production, right? Like that's like, it's a more of a boom of production brewing than like what you see now where, it's this taproom space. So like, I think Growler House had just opened in Spartanburg, Thomas Creek, I don't even think when I first started homebrewing had built their addition on the front with all that new space. They didn't have a tap room yet, right? Because you couldn't legally, like, you couldn't sit at a bar at a brewery and drink a beer, right? The laws in South Carolina didn't allow that. You could go.
That's crazy.
You used to buy tickets, right? Like, so RJ Rockers, you go get a torn taste. So for $5, you'd get 4 tickets in a pint glass, and they'd give you 4 5-ounce pours in the glass. You take it home. So basically, you bought the glass.
Yeah.
They let you sample some beer, and you get a tour. So at Thomas Creek, they all did the same thing, right? And then somewhere in there, the law changed, right? The Stone Bill passed. Oh no, it was before the Stone Bill. One of the bills passed that allowed you to have a tap room. And I honestly can't remember what year that was. Maybe like 9 years ago from now. So maybe 10. I don't think it was quite 10. That allowed you to have a tap room, and then you could serve 3 pints per person per day,
That's pretty limiting.
I mean, in retrospect, yeah, when you can go to the bar and you get a bucket of beer, there's 6 beers in that bucket or 5 beers, you couldn't do that at a brewery.
Yeah.
But it's, they just roll with the punches, right? That's what they got.
Was it because the beer was higher alcohol content?
No, it's because they had finally changed the laws. I mean, the laws in this state are very...
Cheers.
Cheers. I don't know how to say it nicely. I don't know why I went around this side either. You said I got to hover around this thing, so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing
Davy
right.
Jones. That's delicious.
Yeah, Davy Jones, Vienna Lager, just dropped these labels.
That's great artwork on these, by the way.
So one of our bartenders drew the Davy Jones, and then my brother-in-law in New Orleans drew the Rock'em Sock'em kind of take.
So cool. And this is unreleased.
The cans drop on Friday.
Cans drop on Friday.
Friday the 15th.
I have to save that, though. It's a collector's item.
But yeah, so laws changed. Tap rooms started opening. So, everyone just kind of did what they could. So at this time, like, I'm still in and out. I'm helping at 6 and 20. I'm helping at Grape and Grains. Still working at Sam's Club. Like, I think I'm a lead there now or whatever. Still working third shift, but would drive down Friday mornings, work the homebrew shop. Farm would call me to do events. We did early euphorias and bacon and bourbons, just go pour liquor. And we used to call it remoting because like we were in charge of the remote, so it was just like a new take on set, so it was fun, right? Having a lot of fun. So let's see, this is probably 2015. What are we, 22? Yeah, probably 2015, 14, 15, somewhere in there. Ken Anderson, that owns Grape and Grays, decides he's going to sell. And he's going to move back home towards Oregon to be with his family. So a new owner comes in, purchases the shop, and I stay on for a little while, just help with the transition. But, it's a family. So they had a son, a father, that were going to run the shop. So, I stopped working there, went back to Sam's Club, realized like how miserable I was working corporate America, right? It's all I've ever done, right? So I always had a good relationship with the beer reps that would come in and stock, right? The Budweiser guys, the Miller guys, and, just always talk shit with them. And so one of the guys that was the Budweiser rep at the time, his name is Matt, who I think he's now like regional, whatever. He's moved up. He's not just like come and stock on the shelves anymore. He tells me, he says, hey man, like, hey, I know Thomas Creek's hiring for a sales job. So it's like, all right, awesome. Like that day, went home, put in an application, right? Built my resume and made it like, put all my homebrew stuff on there. Put the interning stuff I was doing with 6 and 20, doing the remotions, and I'm just trying to like fluff this thing up, right? Like, So Sam's Club's on there, but it's like, meh. Like he's got some industry experience. So I think that weekend, it must have been in April, I was at Albino Skunk Music Festival out there in Greer, right? Like, I don't know, just talking about it, like, oh, I'm trying to get out, and all my friends are like, well, you think that's smart? Like, this is like, you're in a good place at Sam's, like you're on your way up the ladder, and it's like, Yeah, no, I'm done with that. It's not me, man.
Are you sure you don't want to work third shift, 12 hours at a time?
And I think I was actually on day shift at that point, but still, I think I was working 4 10s or, I was like noon to midnight, right? Like, I could be off on Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
bro.
Sunday.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm done. Who would want to keep doing that?
No.
So that Sunday, we're at Skunk Fest, right? 4-day hangover, like packing my shit up, loading my car up, which, you're bringing less stuff home, but somehow it doesn't fit back in the car.
Never does.
Shoving a tent into the bag where it won't fit. And I get this phone call, and it was like, hey, can you come in this week for an interview? It's like, yeah, like for sure. Like, what do you just tell me when? Like, yeah. I'll skip out of work. It don't matter, right? Like, I'll come there right now. So I think like that week, show up for, it might have been 2 weeks. Because I remember being nervous, like, man, do they haven't called back? Maybe to hire someone. Like, shit, this was the chance. Finally get a call back, go in, meet with Tim Smith at the time, who was the sales director, met with Tom, who owns it, the brewmaster there, sit down, like they're looking at my resume and they're going, you really want a sales job? And I was like, yeah. Like, yeah. And they're like, well, we've actually hired someone for that. But we looked at your resume and like we think you'd be a great fit to run the homebrew shop. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I've done that before, right? They're like, yeah, our guy that's running the homebrew shop now, someone's leaving the brew side, he's going over there. So, it'd be a good foot to get your foot in the door to brew, It's like, all right, awesome. Yeah, I'll do it. When can I start?
Yeah.
Like tomorrow? So, yeah, I put in a 2-week at Sam's. I think I took a couple weeks off, maybe like took a vacation,
Yeah.
Because definitely like left Sam's Club at, an entry-level management position to go work for a family business. So the pay definitely went down. So I was like, well, like let me go ahead and get a vacation in. Let me spend some of this money. Yeah, so I started working and I preached, man, for the first couple months that I wanted nothing to do with brewing, right? Like I had this hobby. I thoroughly enjoyed it, right? I could homebrew while I was running the homebrew shop. I thought my direction was really going to be sales.
And so the homebrew shop is just a place where people come buy supplies.
Yep. So yeah, if you're a home brewer, you could come. We had everything and anything you could want. And so Tom's idea behind the homebrew shop was, I got all this stuff anyways.
Yeah.
Well, why not just be able to break it off to you, sell it to you at a discount? Because I'm buying it in bulk, so I can transfer the savings to you, and you just come here and buy it from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And then like I started while I was running the homebrew shop, I started like helping out on the brew side, right? Because it wasn't like a customer walking in every 5 minutes. Maybe had a couple orders to fill. Stayed pretty busy, but then it was like, oh, you got some downtime. Like, let me go help out the brewers. Like, let me go over there. Let me wash some kegs. Let me dig out the mash tun. And so then I was like, all right, man, this is what I want to do. Forget all that. Started talking to the sales guys. I was like, I mean, why are you doing that? So yeah, I think 5 months, 6 months, another brewer left. Tom moved me over to the production side of things. And that was, what did I say, 2016?
Yeah.
So late 2016, maybe that was 15, 16. So whatever. And then, yeah, so a bunch of people had left. Me and Josh had stayed on. I think we worked together for 6 or 7 years, right? Kind of shared head brewer responsibilities, helping recipe development, writing schedules, like basically 2 of us. And then we had a third on and off for a while, handling all the production at Thomas Creek. So the really unique thing about working with Tom, with the Davis family, is the impact that they've had on the brewing world, not only in South Carolina, but North Carolina, some out of Florida. The amount of people that have come into that place, brewed there for years, and then left to go to other adventures, whether they started their own, whether they're just working for another big place.
And they encourage that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like,
That's
you
cool.
know, if you're ready to move on, right, you can go there and you can learn all this stuff. You can learn from some of the best people brewing beer in the upstate right now. And then, yeah, I mean, like, still to this day, I can walk in there. I'm treated like family, you know.
That's always cool when a company treats them, you know, they understand their position and the stepping stone of people's lives.
And I mean, it's got to be hard, right? You come in, you train someone, you're running this great crew for 4 years, and then someone leaves.
Yeah.
You know, like, that does suck.
But
right?
you're proud of them, in a sense.
Oh, yeah. So my last project before I left Thomas Creek was we brewed this beer called As Your Senior. It was a collaboration between, I think, 13 breweries. And those 13 breweries all had a brewer that left Thomas Creek and went on either to open their own place or work somewhere else. So, like, you know, there's Whitlanding up in Mills River, Burning Blush. There's Kenny Driggers here in the upstate, southern side, Double Stamp, Five Forks, Silos. He owns 4. You know, we're just all over the place, right? Got some guys in Florida, got some guys in Charleston. So it was just like this big, like, last hurrah. Everyone came up to Thomas Creek. We all brewed this big beer. It was a big double IPA, like old school, just kind of like a homage to, like, thanks, Tom. You know, like, see you later. Thanks for everything you've done, right? And I mean, Tom was on the board. He helped change a lot of the early laws. Like, I mean, Tom's been doing this since '97.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's old and deep in the industry, you know.
Yeah. So what was the transition like from, you know, learning and kind of being a part of that to deciding to go start your own brewery?
Man, so probably 3 years, right, of grinding it out at Thomas Creek, right? It was a big production brewery. You know, when I came on, I think they were making 20,000 barrels a year, somewhere in that range, which one barrel is 31 gallons. So, you know, if you just can do that math in your head real quick, I don't know it, but, you know, so it was jumping right into that. Luckily, Tom, when he opened Thomas Creek, never got rid of the original brew house that he opened at Henny's with, right? It was a small 3.5 barrel, right? 110 gallons, very manual, right? Like, one pump on that thing, like, you know, as you moving wort from the mash tun into the, you know, like, it was crazy, right? But it really allowed you to, it was a bridge between home brewing, right, where everything's manual, and, like, this slight bit of automation. So it was like, okay, like, you mastered that thing, a couple brews, right? You feel good, right? You're like, I know what I'm doing. I'm a brewer. I know what I'm doing. You know, go and start brewing on the 30, right? The 30 barrel brew house there, Tom bought some pieces, but really fabbed a lot of stuff himself, right? Like, Tom really should have been an engineer, right? His dad, Bill Davis, architect, you know, helped build the Peace Center downtown. Like, you know, like, he's built a lot of schools. So there's, like, a big brain there, right? So Tom's built a lot of stuff in that brewery, which is great. If you're ever, like, trying to go open your own spot, we fixed everything ourselves. He never called anyone, you know, I mean, maybe to order a part or something, but it was never like, hey, can you come fix this? It's like, no, we're going to fix it, you know, breaking a welder out, doing whatever we had to do. So trying to open your own spot and get to learn all of that stuff. I mean, not free education, because brewing's a labor of love, is what I tell a lot of people, right? Brewing industry has great fringe benefits. You know, right, free beer, right? Free events. You want to go to beer festivals, tastings, you know, whatever. And then,
is it free though? Free beer. I mean, it's beer that you've paid to brew.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's also labor of love. You know what I mean? Like, but then the experience that, like, that, right? That's something you don't ever think about getting, right? Is I learned all this stuff for 7 years, right? I couldn't go to school and learn what I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think 3 years in, 4 years in, right? So now we're 2019, right? When was COVID? 20?
Yeah, March of 2020.
Okay, so, man, it might have been December of 18. I met one of my partners, Paul Kane, through a mutual friend. Paul and my mutual friend had talked about Paul's a lawyer, so they had a meeting to discuss that. Paul had told him, hey, like I'm, trying to start a brewery. And the friend was like, oh, I know, I got the guy. Like you need to meet this guy. So December of 18, we met at Velofellow, which, used to be the spot, right? Katie and Matt and all those guys, we met out there, had a discussion, right? Each signed NDAs. I don't even know why we were signing them because, we didn't even know what we were doing, right?
It seems like a formality you just have to do sometimes. I don't know.
Protection for both of us, right?
Yeah.
So, we, start talking about it. I was like, well, fuck, dude. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's open next month, right? Like, you're just like, I know how to run it. You're a lawyer. Like, you can write the business. Like, you get we're done. January we're going to open, right?
That easy.
Yeah. So then you start digging, right? Like, we hit the ground running in 18, start pricing everything out, right? Because you got to find a number, right? We got to find money, which means we need to know how much money. So you start pricing equipment, right? And then you kind of hit the wall. You're like, oh, shit. Like, I need, if we're going to do this right? And it's the only way I was going to do it. Because, the experience I learned was there's a right way and a wrong way, and then there's somebody else's way, right? So the way I wanted to do it was going to be the right way for me. Yeah. And everything I learned, you learn a lot of things you don't want to deal with.
And you learned in an established place.
Yeah.
That had all the equipment.
Yeah. And I'm not, I'm not trying to say nothing was right there. I knew what I didn't want to get myself into.
Yeah, but you knew what it was going to cost to get the beginning of that setup.
Oh, yeah. So you see that number, and it's like, well, we need to raise big money. So we start fundraising, right? We start talking to investors. We start talking to people like, I don't know anyone with, that kind of money. And, other brewers might listen to this and be like, you don't need shit. You can open it for 20 grand. Like I said, I was doing it the right way. Like, I know what equipment I wanted, what size, there was, I have an 860 square foot walk-in cooler that's 15 foot tall. I got that because I know the struggle of what some friends have. And I was like, I'm never going to deal with not having enough cold space.
Yeah.
So, that costs $20,000 more than other people's coolers. So, it's just things started adding up. So we're looking for money, right? We're on the ground, we're sniffing at anyone who's got, X amount of dollars, right? And we come across another mutual friend who we're talking to, and he's like, look, you guys got a great idea, right? So this time we're trying to open in Clemson, right? We're trying to find something in Clemson.
So how do you differentiate yourself? You're a brewery.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're brewing beer. There's a lot of people brewing beer. How do you differentiate your idea to say, we're doing something unique for this concept?
So that's Clemson, right? We were trying to open in Clemson because there wasn't one in Clemson at the time, right? So it's like, hey, this is working in Greenville. This is working in Asheville. It's working in Charleston. Well, Clemson doesn't have one. There's a big enough population just on seven Saturdays a year when Clemson's playing home.
Yeah.
Right? Just you look at like Tiger Town and Knicks and all these guys that, they rely on the population – not during football season, but football season, they can just rake it in, So it was like, we're going to do a tried and true idea, right? Open a brewery in an area where there isn't one and there's plenty of foot traffic, right?
Well, and at what point is it just handing them one of these and going, this is delicious, try this?
Well, we didn't have these. So I would bring Thomas Creek's beer.
Okay.
Right? Because at least I might not have developed all the recipes, but I brewed it, right? It was kind of like a familiar stuff with this concept, right? Yeah. So this mutual friend's like, great, I can't talk to you anymore, right? I'm talking to somebody else, but you should meet this guy.
Conflict.
Yeah. You should meet him. You guys would be great. He's like at the same point as you are. So this is 20 now, right? Midway through 20. No, when was COVID? Midway through 19.
Yeah.
So meet with our third partner, Tanner Coombs. He's like, a little bit behind us, right? He's looking for money. Our plan is a little more ahead. Also because they have me, right? A big piece of the puzzle, the guy who's going to brew the beer, right? That's if they were just going to do it, they could find the space, find the money, still got to find someone to brew it. So we were like, hey, join forces, come on. come just be part of our team, right? Like, you're a great fit. You're a finance guy, had a finance background. Like, you knows how to write all the reports and make things look great on paper. Basically he could build us an investor packet. So we start doing all this. We actually sign a contract to buy the old Astra movie theater downtown Clemson. I think in the same month, turned around and sold the contract to buy it with the whatever they would call it, to lease back a portion of it. So basically, we were gonna open a brewery in the Astra movie theater, and it was awesome, right? Like, it's like, this is gonna be great. Historic building. It's got all these people are gonna come there just because it's in the old Astra movie theater, right? Sweet, start promoting it, right? First brewery in Clemson, we started parking cars in the parking lot for football games. Like, right, we're not even fully done yet, right? we're just running with it, right? It was awesome. So we bought a draft trailer, like a refrigerated trailer. We're trying to find a place to park it, serve some beer.
So you're basically a food truck for beer.
Food truck for beer, right? Which in the state, getting the licensing was a hassle. So we actually talked to Barry Devers, who owns Smoking Pig. So set up there at Smoking Pig in Pendleton.
Okay.
So, and I might be like, my timeline might be a little off here, but so we're slinging beer in the parking lot of the Smoking Pig. Which, every like Tuesday I'd go to the sheriff's department, get the sheriff to sign off on our license. Then I'd go to the DOR, go get our temporary alcohol permits for like the month, right? Like, it was just like, whatever, we're going to do this thing. Every Friday and Saturday, we're going to be out there slinging beer. Like, we're just going to do it.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that, telling people we're moving to Astro. We're actually brewing all of our beer at Thomas Creek because I'm still employed there. I'm still working there. And a big part of Tom's portfolio there at Thomas Creek, he brews about 50 to 60% of his beer that comes out of there is contract brewed. So I'm actually brewing our own beer, writing my own recipes, brewing them on the small system at Thomas Creek. We buy a couple fermenters, put them in at Thomas Creek, so we have our own fermenter space, right? Like, making all this happen, right? We're selling beer in a trailer in a parking lot. We're rogue, man. We're proving this model, right? You want to invest? Look, we're doing it. Like, it was great. So, and mind you, this is like cold months, right? Like, it's over. It's like, it's frigid outside. We're out there. It's windy. Like, we got embroidered tents.
You're in a refrigerated trailer.
Yeah, so we're standing outside of the refrigerated trailer, pouring beer off the side of this thing, shooting commercials, like having paying cheap rent, making some cash, right? Proving a concept. Look, if we can do it here in a parking lot, we can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like it's 12 degrees outside.
Persistence.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to hustle a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was fun, right? Thanks to Tanner, I was working a full-time job. Paul was managing the law firm. Tanner was mainly out there all the time. Just sitting there in the cold. We're bringing him hot hands, and he's eating chili beans to stay warm, sitting outside, Luckily, there was a fire pit. So, yeah, like, we're doing that. Finally starts to warm up, right? Like, spring sports are kicking off. Like, we have a couple banging weekends, right? We're like, wow, we haven't made this much money yet.
So this is May 2019.
No. So we were selling in the draft trailer was probably end of 19.
Okay. So
right?
May 2020.
Yeah. So we're probably in
March 2020.
February, March,
beginning
right?
Of the pandemic.
Spring sports kicking off.
Yeah.
Right. It's like St. Patty's weekend. We're all out at the bars. Right, like, we're at the Irish pub playing volleyball. It's like pandemic like, we see it on the TV, and then like that Tuesday they're like, shut it down. Yeah. So, I think Tanner went out there one more weekend, right? I think it was like, hey, like, we're not shutting it down yet. It was like kind of a soft shutdown.
Well, and you were kind of outside, so it's like you're in that gray area.
So he went out there and calls us on like Saturday at like 2:00 and it says, "Just like 4 people have come here today. Like I'm shutting it down."
Yeah.
So we shut it down. You know, like it's whatever it is, right? Like it's okay. Like 2 weeks, flatten the curve here. You know, I hope I'm the first ever to say that on your podcast.
Yeah, you are. Remember that those days.
You know, 2 turned into 4.
Yeah.
You know, then it's shit like what, April, May, they like the world shut down.
Yeah.
And so we still had beer in a refrigerated truck, plugged in, sitting over at the Smoking Pig. We had a 42-foot Connex box out there. You know, we've been collecting stuff, right? Like, oh, you're shutting down this place? Oh, you want $700 for 50 tables and 40 chairs? You know, like, I'll buy it. Here, let's buy this box and put it out here. Right? We're like in this thing, right? Back broke.
Strategic.
Yeah, you know. Had some money to spend it. You know, every year taxes came around. You know, you just had to be smart about things, reinvest into the company. That's why I bought fermenters and draft trailers and kegs, right? Like we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So middle of COVID, right? And I say middle because at the time we thought it was the middle, right? Like we're 3 months in, we're like, no way this is lasting forever. Yeah.
By the end of
it's like May now, right? And we're like, wow.
Well, summer's here. It'll be over by the end of
Yeah,
summer.
everyone's going outside. The world revolves around being outside. So we see that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So we realize, like, go to the city of Clemson in May of COVID, and it's empty. And it's like, well, shit, like, is going, like, Greenville was still happening. I'm not saying it's happening, but, like, people are getting to-go food. You know, like, there's more of a sense of culture here. Clemson, when 80,000 students leave the city of Clemson, there's nothing. Yeah. There's no... the population there alone couldn't sustain.
So I feel like Greenville during that time, I mean, they were at the 10:30, 11 o'clock, like, cutoff.
Yeah.
But there were still a ton of people going out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was still busy downtown. But yeah, Clemson.
I mean, we were just talking today. We went to Tipsy Taco, and I remember going to Tipsy Taco. They set some tables up in the corner, and you could get a 6-pack of beer, 6 tacos, and go sit over there and eat it.
I don't want to dive we have so much to talk about. I don't want to dive down the rabbit hole, but there was so many creative business owners during COVID in the restaurant industry. Like they did. So I saw so many crazy out of the box things that worked.
Oh yeah.
Like, man, that's
crazy.
It's brilliant is what it was.
My favorite, and I'll tell this. It's a quick story. I think in Florida, right, to be considered a restaurant, X amount of dollars or X percentage of your sales had to be food.
Yeah.
So this one brewery was like, we have a kitchen. Why are we not considered a restaurant? So if you opened a tab there, the first thing that went on your tab was a food. It was like a bag lunch. It was an Uncrustable sandwich and a can of Pringles. You got it, whether you wanted it or not, because they were like, look, we're now a restaurant.
Yeah, here you go.
I mean, it's just, you can get pretty creative if you have to, right? I think the government leaves you a lot of gray just to, let's see how creative you can be.
Yeah.
I say that, but I don't think they do.
It drives innovation, which they're going to make money off of. So
yeah, for sure. So yeah, we canceled the contract at the Astro, right? We decided it's probably not a good idea. Like, it's COVID, it's here to stay. Like, let's bang our head up against another wall, right? Like, let's just go. Maybe find something cheaper, or, whatever, right? We can keep more equity. There's so many options on the table now. Like, let's go back to the drawing board. So we start looking for property. We're looking at Easley, Anderson, right? We're now just trying to find something cheap. And we might have signed a lease in September of 20. Somewhere in there, right? Okay. Found this McCoy Wright, Main Street Partners, owned a building on Main Street. Used to be an old A&P grocery, Bobby Johnson's Market. Last thing it was a CarQuest, right? Beautiful 10,000 square foot building, heart of downtown, plenty of parking. Did some renderings. It was like, saw the space, and it was like the first space I saw, and I was like, this is it, right? 10,000 square foot, what I wanted. Potential to cut some windows in, have some outside serving, drive up, we're all in the COVID mindset, right? Like, all right, if no one can be inside, we got all this space outside. they can walk up here to this window, get a beer and sit outside, right? Like, because
you're still kind of in that space where you're like, there's so many unknowns too.
Oh yeah,
because you're like, how do I keep my staff safe?
Well, we really thought we were going to open this thing and it was going to be like me, Tanner, and Paul. Yeah. I was going to brew and work the bar. Tanner, like we thought the three of us were going to do this. Maybe hire 2 or 3 people.
Yeah,
like we got it. Like no problem. So yeah, we signed this lease. We start like going back down that road. Engineering, architects, right? Like it's a year-long process. Maybe not a year, 6 months. Christmas happens. We go on Christmas break. Like I'm still at Thomas Creek. We had moved our draft trailer. It's sitting at Thomas Creek in the back parking lot next to theirs. So New Year's happens. I think it was a Sunday that year. New Year's Day was a Sunday. Go back to work Monday. And so we had to take the spent grain from the mash tun out the back door. So like whatever, it's probably 11 o'clock. I'm on my like last trip out to this dump trailer where the farmer comes and picks up this raw material. And I'm like, there's like a lot of room back here. Like what's missing? And then I was like, fuck, my trailer's gone. It's just like, it's not here. It's like, stop what I'm doing. I'm like, Josh, has my trailer been here? And he's like, no, your trailer's not here. And I was like, was it here this morning? He goes, I don't think it was here this morning. Like, what the fuck happened? Right? Like, so I call Paul, call Tanner. Tanner's not picking up. Hey, Paul, you have the trailer? He goes, I don't even have keys to the trailer. So you don't have the trailer, right? He goes, no. It's like, you're not fucking with me, right? Like, you don't have to. He goes, what's wrong? It's like, the trailer's gone. I got to call you back. Tanner's calling me. Tanner picks up the phone. He had a set of keys, right? I'm freaking out, right? I'm like, what's going on here? It's gone. He's like, nah, man, I haven't seen it. What do you mean it's gone? I was like, okay, you sound like you're messing with me now, right? Like, you really don't have it? He's like, no. I was like, well, it's not here. He's like, you had it locked, right? Yeah, I was like, yeah, there was 3 locks on it, right? There's tongue locks, there's wheel locks, there's chalk locks. It's gone. And they cleaned the ground, right? Like there's no metal shavings from where they cut locks or like, it was just like, it's not here. $20,000 draft trailer gone. Call the police. Hey, I'd like to report a missing trailer. He goes, is it a vehicle? It's like, well, no, you can't drive it. Right, you got to pull it with a truck.
It's a trailer, as I said.
He's like, all right, you got the VIN number? Give it to him. He goes, all right, if you want a police report, come down and get it next week. I was like, what? Because yeah, it's COVID. We don't come out for stolen vehicles anymore. It's not an emergency. Yeah. So here, Greenville County, here you go. So it's like, all right, perfect. I think like 2 days later, like Wednesday, I go to the police station, get the police report. I have a check in my hand from the insurance company on Thursday, right? It's just like, wow. Well, should we go buy another one?
Did you ever find out what happened?
No. It's filed stolen, state of South Carolina.
Did you get your money back?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, so it's funny.
So that worked out. But how just vanished?
Vanished. Like found one. So we had a wheel chalk on it, right? Like 2 pieces of this lock come around, lock around the wheel. And so if you drove it, that lock would like flatten the tire. We found 1 tooth of that on the ground. Like no metal shavings from where they cut it. I even asked Tom and I was like, Tom, did you see the trailer? Like maybe New Year's was Friday, New Year's Day was Saturday. He went and opened Sunday. He goes, no, I thought you came and got it. Like it was honestly
had to be an inside job somehow. There had to be somebody inside that took that.
I have no idea.
That's wild.
But so yeah, follow with the it sucked, right? Because we were like, okay, like come out of January, we have our space, like we know how to do this. We'll go set up in the parking lot of our new space and we'll sell beer there on the weekends, right? Start getting the city amped for us to be there, right? We know we've done it already. We know the paperwork process kind of sucks, but like, hey, we're here, let's do it. And then like it was kind of like a knockback, right? Kept our heads up. Just the best we could, right? Like we've been brought here this far. Everything's kind of happened for a reason. Like, okay, like maybe this just wasn't meant to be, right?
Yeah.
Head down, keep grinding it out. get our SBA loan, right? We decided to go that route because COVID was around. They were, handing out money at this time. So yeah, I left Thomas Creek in July of 21. Went and started working full time for the brewery. I was on site every day, right? Building the bar, talking to our vendors, getting our equipment, cooler built, bar built, just being there with the GCs, like being involved in, I didn't need to be, but I kind of wanted to be to I knew we were going to do more of these. So if I could gain that experience of like, why are you doing this that way? So that way, if I didn't like how it was done, I can express that at another job. So yeah, it was just there, learning a lot. We had a really cool GC, really cool crew working there. Heavy construction really started after 4th of July. A lot of the demo had been done. And so the demo had revealed some stuff we didn't see for the first walkthrough, like a beautiful curved wooden barrel ceiling. Like the space really turned out beautiful.
So what was the transition like from, your trailer gets stolen, you're back at the brewery. What's the transition like to Magnetic South?
Yeah. So, we're, luckily we've signed a lease, right? We're planning to open downtown Anderson. The question is of when, right? And so obviously Tom has known all of this, right? While I'm still there. So, and he's been great, right? You ask him questions, right? He's really, I've been blessed in this life to say I've had a lot of mentors in my life, right? A lot of people I can look up to, a lot of people that, hey, I want to make this move, what do you think, right? And not give me a biased answer of, no, I want to do that, so it's a bad decision. Really evaluate me and say, yeah, go with it, which, if you don't have a mentor, yeah, I would highly advise finding someone who can at least sit down and talk to you, right? Someone who's got some experience. So, he was great for that. So trailer gets stolen, right? He's bummed. I'm bummed. Finally get a deadline. We're set to open July, August 2021 in Anderson. I lied. You're gonna open for Memorial Day,
okay?
Right? Because I think that's ahead of the first Clemson football games, right? So I think that was the goal. Was let's be open by football season, So I leave Thomas Creek. It was plan out, right? Got some money saved up. All right, if I keep paying myself what I was making, I can make it to this point. Right. And it was it was probably for the end of the year, right? I can continue to pay myself with my savings and, some plays we had made as a company.
That's a big jump.
Oh, yeah.
When you take that as kind of I'm going to go do this.
I learned it from Shark Tank, right? I'm not going to lie. I love a Shark Tank, right? I watch it all the time. And, those guys are always saying, oh, you're not full time with this company yet? So you're not all in. Why are you asking me to invest if you're not going to be all in? So I think Tanner was actually 2 years on this project. Maybe we made some plays and some smart decisions, made some money, and we could take a distribution, or maybe we didn't. But he was 2 years in on this project. Which that's a tough
it's a commitment.
Oh yeah,
huge commitment.
But someone's got to do it to make
all the
sure.
Risk.
Oh yeah,
but you in the end you get the reward
for sure. So I jumped July. We're heavy construction in Anderson. I'm down there. 40 hours a week, maybe 50. Right, I got to be there. Tanner's there. Luckily, we have some great neighbors. Electric City Brewery. They're also a coffee shop. So got good friends with them. We were having business meetings, architect meetings, GC meetings, in their space, right? Sitting there, hey, we're open. We're gonna be your neighbors. Can I just come hang out here?
Yeah.
It's got AC,
I'll balance this out in beer, I promise.
Buying beer, buying coffee. Hey, I just need to use the bathroom. I'm not using that porta john that all the construction workers are using. So, I think like the plan was to be open like middle August, end of August, right? Like building's almost done. Like obviously hit delays, right? It's COVID, you can't get nothing. Our storefront and roll up doors were like, they're 15 weeks away, and it was like 15 weeks. We try to open in 3. Like
I'm opening on Friday. What are you talking about?
So we actually just like, we did whatever we could, right? Sprinkler system wasn't set to be done, water mains. So all while this is going on, our landlords, there's our building. This used to be a parking lot. The Beehive Boutique is up behind us, and this old bar called the Den is like next to us. So there's this area in the middle. So our landlords gave this old parking lot to the city of Anderson. And the city said, okay, we're going to turn this into a pedestrian plaza. We're going to put grass out there, concrete. We're going to put a fountain, trees, lights, furniture, like the renderings they show us are beautiful, right? So it's even more of a hard press for us. Like, yes, we're doing this because it's going to be that same concept that everyone in Greenville is so familiar with, right? That, Hampton Station, that like all these new mill properties, that mixed collective use, what they're doing at Holland Park.
We've talked about it a ton in this podcast that, Greenville is, I would be surprised if it's not the fastest growing city in the United States right now.
I actually think they just announced that on the news
Did
today.
They? It's like
it was on Channel 7. It was like
there's like 31 to 40 people a day moving here.
It was like top 5 fastest growing, most desirable places to live. So,
and it is an unbelievable place to launch any business, especially a brewery with delicious beer. Like, so when did you guys open?
So September 1st, right? That weekend comes and goes, right? It's like, next week. So right, like we can't even apply for all of our permits to sell alcohol until you have your occupancy, right? So we've applied for our brewers notice, but they're like, okay, well, you can't call us until you can occupy the space because they want to see the space done, right?
So
this is SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. They want to come out and inspect the brewery, make sure it's actually a brewery, that you can brew beer there, right?
So you've set your personal deadline, like you've got runway to the end of the year, to December. After that, you're like out of money. I have to have this thing open.
I think it was even before that, right? That's like me and the wife, fiance thing, whatever you're gonna call us.
Yeah,
we're like, I realized that 2019 was it 2019? 2019. We was like, hey, if we're like really gonna take this relationship to the next level, like we got to get smart, personal, financial level, right? Like I'm about to go start this business, right? And we're gonna open 3 of them. Like
I love it.
We're gonna go into debt really bad. There might be times where I don't get paid, right? So why don't you sell your house, pay off all your debt, and move in with me in my house, right? And I'm living in a little 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom in Berea, right? San Souci. I like to say San Souci because it makes me.
That's how I say it too.
It's like I don't live in Berea, and really, I think I lived in City View, but like no one even knows what City View is. So, so I lived over there, West Village, if you will.
Yeah.
Now,
gentrified now.
Yeah, and she was like, You got a 4-car driveway, but you got to stack them in behind each other, right? Like, you got 2 toilets but 1 shower, right? It's like this old outdated house, right? AC unit. It sounded like it was going to run away in a second, right? Like it was just like, right? It was an old house, right? It was built in the 80s. And she was like, I'm not selling my house I built 5 years ago to come live here. And it was like, all right, well, I think I can like quadruple up on my house right now. So like, let's sell it. Let's buy a house together in between Greenville, like a strategic location.
Yeah.
Because what we know that you guys don't know listening yet is we have already signed a lease for a Greenville location. And at this time of selling the house, maybe we didn't sign the Greenville lease yet, but it was talking about, and we were also working on a Clemson location. So it was the thought of like, let's just go all in. So it's like, all right, like let's buy something that you can afford, babe, like on your own, that if I can't contribute, like at least we still have a house. You can afford it, So it was like perfect. We looked on Augusta Road. It's like, this would be the greatest area for the money we had. Because, like thankfully the market was up. So we both made some nice money on our houses. Yeah. But it also mean everything we were trying to buy was up.
Yeah.
So what we could buy off of Augusta was like, you get 3.2, that's 1,000 square foot. It was like, all right, let's go to Piedmont. Yeah. So great area, 15 minutes from Greenville, 15 minutes from our Anderson location. So kind of combined households to, just kind of help with that transition, right? And it's tough, right? It's in a relationship personally, it's, even personally or business related, money conversations are hard conversations.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're still at the point in our business where it's like, hey, like, can I take a paycheck this week? Right. And those are, you don't want to have to ask your business partner, can I get a paycheck? Nor do they want to tell you no or yes. Right. Money is always a hard conversation, no matter who you are, unless you're talking to the Shark Tank. Yeah. Which, to go back to that, I love the Shark Tank.
So what date did you guys open?
So we opened like September 23rd, right? It was the craziest thing. So we called a sled agent, right? They came and inspected the production area, which it was kind of bullshit, but it's formality, I'm sure. Come take a few pictures, ask us a few questions, because you've already submitted all this paperwork. It's just this agent comes out and, to make sure you are what you are, because to be a production brewery, there's different class of taxes, right? You're paying excise tax, which if you're a bartender or if you're a bar owner, all that tax, production tax, excise tax, it's all been paid, right? So they just come and check it out. So they came on like a Tuesday to give us our final notice, like, hey, it's done. I think like that Monday, the fire marshal came and checked off everything. Like that Thursday, we got our CO, went to the city office, applied for the city license, got the city license. Like everything just like someone went to DOR, picked up the DOR paperwork and the license there. And it was like 1 o'clock, right?
You got lucky at the finish line.
Oh, yeah. So at this point, I think we had hired all the staff, right? We've been holding open houses. We've been paying and working them for 2 weeks. We had rented and I say rented, but went to the library. They gave us a space to do all this training, right? Hands-on. And it was more of like a team bonding. We talked about some aspects of could we hire a lot of kids, right? Like, and I say kids, but again, 22, 21, maybe had never been a bartender before.
Yeah.
Inexperienced, and we told them like, hey, you come work for us. It's going to be a great place, very competitive pay, hopefully a high tip out, right? Like, you come work for us, it'll be awesome, and we'll train you. I've never poured a beer before. We'll train you,
yeah,
right? And now because we've done that, I think we have one of the best starting crews that any business could have ever asked for. We have such a tight knit crew. Like, we have group chats where we have beer names. We take funny pictures of each other. It's just like a very good camaraderie between all the staff. But
well, that's the most important
80% of them have been there since day one.
That's the most important thing as a leader. I mean, you're the brains behind the beer. You've got the experience, but at the end of the day, the leader is the culture.
Oh yeah,
creating the culture for the people around the people. Yeah,
no stress, right? Like,
I mean, anybody would work for you. Let's be honest.
Well, they don't. They work for Tanner. Tanner handles the front of house.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I'm fun. I think I'm dad and he's mom. Because like, like dad always says yes. Like mom might have to throw the hammer down. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. So we brought them in like beginning of September after Labor Day. I think we started them. So we're on like, hey, we're gonna have to like keep paying these guys, right? Like we should be open, but like, okay, so we'll just have them there and build furniture and like do final cleans of the place. Yeah, the GC is supposed to do that, but like, hey, we got the staff. Like, we're not just gonna pay them to sit at home, right? Like we promise them like, hey, we'll pay you a training salary.
Let's use them.
We'll feed you. Let's use them. So I think like that Thursday, maybe it was Thursday or Friday. It was all such a blur. We got the paperwork at like 1:00. Like the license is being drove from DOR off Spartanburg or Pleasantburg. Someone's hauling back to Anderson with it. All right, let's open at 4. But we'll just soft open, right? We won't put anything on social media, right? We probably got like maybe a couple thousand followers or whatever, like we'll just open the doors and turn the lights on.
Yeah.
Right. We got beer brewed because I brewed a bunch of beer at Thomas Creek, right? Because I had thought of the whole plan. Like, I know I can't brew enough. So, like, let's get 10 beers brewed at Thomas Creek and we'll just bring them over. Right.
Yeah. 20 kegs, 2 of each.
Yeah. So I had some cans to sell, like.
You're not going to run out of beer on your first day.
No. Well, that was the hope.
You
like,
hope
oh,
you do,
shit,
but...
if we 2 weeks, we run it. I mean, we could close for 3 more weeks. If they just gave us 1 weekend to open,
Yeah.
So we actually opened. It was like.
What was that feeling like when it's like, okay, all the license is done?
It was horrible.
But I'm saying like you're open.
I know. I want to say it was joyful. It was horrible.
It was horrible.
Because like we got 20 people on staff, right, that have. Maybe 4 of them have poured beer before, not including us. Right? We got one guy we hired in the kitchen who was a cook that knew how to cook. 3 kids who have never cooked in the kitchen before, right? So we have a full menu, right? We do pizzas, flatbread, salads, sandwiches, like bar food, pretzels, that kind of stuff. So it's like, all right, we got some inexperience, right? So we developed this hybrid model of.
But you had to have a sense of relief. Of like the shit show was done.
No. Not. So look, short story. We opened at 4:00, opened the doors. We didn't leave till 1 a.m. We were slammed. I mean, line out the door, which was a relief, but it's like.
But your staff sucking.
I'm on a 14-day bender of just being here, grinding it out. I'm at hour 18. I don't know if I could see straight. I don't know if I'm drunk, sober, tired, asleep, awake. It's just. But it's how it is, right? It was the whirlwind of it all, which was, to look back on it now, was awesome. We got a bunch of staff that we're trying to train, and we don't even know what we're doing. I could pour a beer. Yeah. And give it to somebody. I don't know how to run the POS. I don't think anyone had turned the POS on. We had, but in real time experience until that day, right? I can tell everyone how to pour a beer, but it's just faster if you get out of my way and let me do it. And that's no way to train somebody. And then we generated this hybrid model, right? We wanted people to order at the bar and to sit down. They'd get their beer at the bar, but they would get a number and sit down, and food we brought to them. But then we also had these people we call rovers who would rove around, and if you needed a beer or you needed food, that they had a little tablet and they could send an order in right there. Right? So it's not a full service, but it's also we encourage people to get up to the bar and order it themselves, right? So it's I don't know, I'd never worked anywhere like that. No one that we hired had, so we didn't even know what kind of expectation to set for these people. It was crazy. And even for the first month, we were only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they were just crazy. It was just out of control.
Yeah.
Right. I'm working 7 days a week. I'm trying to brew Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, work the bar Thursday night, Fridays, Saturdays. Jenny's coming out helping work the weekends. Tanner's wife's there. It's if you know what you're doing, we need you here.
Yeah.
So
when you guys have 2 locations opening in Greenville.
Yeah. So one in Greenville, one in Clemson. So right now we're open in Anderson, but open since September. The goal is to open in our Greenville location, which will be at Judson Mill. We're hoping Labor Day, baby. We're back to that date, beginning of September. There, so hopefully in time for football season. The Clemson project is anywhere between then and I would say the spring, somewhere in there. We don't really have a huge update on that. I think it's the Clemson location's at Dockside, which is on 123. It's an old Holiday Inn property that they've torn down. It's a big mixed-use development, a lot of student housing. So I think they've kind of shifted focus to And I don't know, because, I'm not saying we've gone radio silent, but, I think they're trying to really generate, and they have to have that student housing done, I'm pretty sure, by the fall.
Well, Cuzzin, man, I could sit and talk to you all night and drink beer. But we're almost out of time here.
Oh, man. I wasn't even done.
You got okay, let's keep going.
No, I'm done. I don't know. I think that's it, right? That brings us to present day?
Present day.
Well, so this morning I woke up, I brushed my...
So I think that what happens is we just keep having updates. You just keep coming back.
Yeah.
You just do an hour
monthly?
and a half. Yeah, monthly.
I don't know. I don't know if we can do an hour and a half. Like, the story's been told.
You and I could figure out an hour of stuff to talk about every month.
I mean, we probably could.
Yeah.
I mean...
We haven't even scratched the surface.
We could start bringing friends in here, too.
That's true.
I mean,
That's it.
Other brewery
We'll
owners.
just make you a rotating co-host.
Hey, wow, that's a lot.
Whenever
Co-hosting.
whenever you want to.
No, I'm not saying like. I mean, just I'd rather be on the show than have to host it.
There you go.
Because I don't want to think of questions.
Oh, but you would.
I mean, I would, because I'd throw people under the bus fast.
Yeah. Well, man, we'll have you back soon. This was fun.
Little social media.
Let's try it. What are you drinking next?
Davey? I'm going Davy Jones.
Should we put a third one on the table?
No, that would be cheating. Can't put it on there until you drink it.
I can have one in the hole, right?
Oh, wow, this is weird. I feel like I'm professional.
So I can turn your headphones down, but you want to stay close to the mic and feel like you're hot micing because it's...
I don't like that. What do I do with my hands?
Is it too loud in your ears?
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's just weird.
Control the volume of my voice.